The EOS RP paired with the EF 50mm f1.8 lens is a fantastic combination for both photos and video. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons of this setup and show you some photo and video examples. So let's get right into it. So before I get into the pros and cons, I'm actually recording with the setup right now, the EF 50mm f1.8 lens and the EOS RP body. I'm at f2 right now, so this is just an example if you're interested in this type of thing. And also, feel free to go down and like this video and subscribe to my channel for more EOS RP content. And I also have content about other budget cameras and anything of that nature. So feel free to go down and check out my channel if you'd like to. But either way, I'm recording with that setup right now, just as another example. Let's get right into some of the pros of the EF 50mm f1.8 lens on the Canon EOS RP. So since you have to use the EF to RF adapter to use this lens on the EOS RP, it practically doubles the length of the lens, which is actually a pro in this case. So because this lens is so short, it's really uncomfortable if you paired it right to the body, and it'd be really uncomfortable to focus because of how close it is to the body and just how short of a lens it is. But since you can't pair right to the body in this camera, you have to use the EF to RF adapter. It actually extends it about double the length, and it makes it really comfortable to hold. And also, it's a pretty fast lens. With f1.8, you can get some good low light performance and some shallow depth of field for good background separation. And it's also pretty sharp as well, especially if you stop down to like f2 or f2.8. It's a really sharp lens, and you really won't know any difference in sharpness between this and any other lens, unless you're really pixel peeping. Now, the setup does have a few cons that I noticed, and first things first is the autofocus performance. Now, this is due to the lens. Because it is the cheapest lens that Canon offers, the autofocus isn't amazing, and it's not going to be as fast as some higher end lenses. But I really only noticed this issue in video mode. It just didn't seem to track as fast as I think it should. But overall, it still was pretty decent with autofocus, and in photo mode, I really didn't notice any issues. So if you are just planning on shooting photos, this is a fantastic setup, and the autofocus is perfectly fine with this lens. But in video mode, there were just a few issues with autofocus, and it was just a little slow and not very snappy. But it isn't a super big issue, and you can always use manual focus, which in video mode, manual focus is good anyways to precisely focus on what you want to. Alright, next up on the cons list, this lens does not have any sort of image stabilization. Now in photo mode, this isn't really a big deal because image stabilization isn't super important unless you want to get long exposure handheld shots, but that's really the only reason that image stabilization would help a lot in photo mode. But in video mode, it is a little bit of an issue. And now the EOS RP does have electronic image stabilization, which I enabled in video mode, but I did notice that it was kind of jerky and didn't really seem natural. Now if this lens had image stabilization built into it, it'd be a lot more natural and look a lot better, but the in-body stabilization in the EOS RP just isn't that good in my opinion. And unless you're trying to get a perfectly still shot, which it is pretty good at that, but if you're moving around, it really doesn't look natural. It's kind of jerky and snappy, and I'll show you an example of it. Now, if you turn it off in the body, and if the lens doesn't have it, it's such a light setup that it just really does get a lot of micro jitters, and it really doesn't look super good in video mode unless you do have it on a tripod or a gimbal or something like that, and then you won't have any sort of these issues. And that wraps it up with the cons of this setup. This is an awesome setup for enthusiasts, especially because of the budget. I actually got the EOS RP for $800 used, and then I got the lens and adapter for just about $200. So for $1,000, this is a perfect enthusiast setup. Obviously, this isn't geared towards pros, and for professional shoots or anything like that, this isn't going to be as good as something like the EOS R paired with a Sigma Art lens or a Canon L series lens. But for any sort of enthusiast, it's going to be fantastic and everything you're really going to need. Let's get into the pictures and videos shot with the EOS RP and the 50mm f1.8 lens. Alright, so that wraps up this video. This camera and lens combination is a fantastic choice for photography and a pretty decent choice for video as well, especially if you're just getting started and you just bought this camera and you really don't have a big budget to spend on a lens. This is the cheapest lens Canon offers, and it's a really good beginner lens. So I'm going to leave links in the description to this whole setup that I used, as well as all my other camera gear, so feel free to check those out. And also go down and like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I have more Canon EOS RP videos on my channel, as well as more budget camera related videos, and there will be a lot more to come, so stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video.